Hey guys, it's Kasira, and today we're going to be doing my mid-year check-in for the series that I want to finish in 2020. So at the beginning of this year, I did a video called the series that I want to finish in 2020, which I named a bunch of series that I had started in 2019 or previously that I actually wanted to get to and finish in 2020. So we're gonna take a look at them and see which ones I'm actually on track to finish and which ones I'm not. I can already think of two of them that I'm definitely not on track to finish, and they were two that were supposed to be my priorities. So yeah, this should be an interesting video. So I'm gonna do it the same style that I did my mid-year reading goals check-in. If you guys missed that one, I will link it up in the cards for you guys. But we're going to take a look at that video and see which books I chose, and then we're gonna talk about them and see if I actually read them. So I got my iPad here, so if you see me looking down, that is why. But today we're gonna go through all of the series, not just fantasy, but all of the series.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't wear that shirt. I
almost
wore that shirt.
That would have been weird, right? First of all, we're gonna get to all of the YA series that I'm planning on finishing in 2020. So the first YA series that I'm planning on finishing in 2020 is the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo, which includes Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. So this series is one that I started in 2019. I read Six of Crows in 2019. It was one of the books that was voted for in one of my TBR polls, and I really, really enjoyed it. A lot more than I was expecting to. I love the atmosphere of this world. I actually did this one. I'm so happy. So in order to finish the series, I had to read Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, which I did read, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I gave it 4.75 stars. I think the characters are amazing. I love the world. I think the plot is very, very good in this one. And the only thing that annoyed me was the writing style. She chooses to use flashbacks for her characterization. That's the only thing that annoyed me. But other than that, I absolutely love this. So yeah, I'm so glad that I finished this one. The next series I'm a little less optimistic about, and that's the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series by Laini Taylor, which includes Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Days of Blood and Starlight, and Dreams of Gods and Monsters. Well, I was less optimistic for a reason, and that's because I still haven't finished the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series by Laini Taylor. So I still have to read Dream of Gods and Monsters. I think last year I read the first two books in this series, which is Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Days of Blood and Starlight. I liked Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I think it was pretty good. I didn't think it was amazing, but I liked it. Days of Blood and Starlight, I was honestly really bored by, but I already had Dreams of Gods and Monsters. I really love Laini Taylor's writing style, so I was just kind of like, I still want to continue on with the series, but I don't find myself actually reaching for this one. So I don't know. I don't know if I will. You know what? If I don't finish this series by the end of the year, then I have to unhaul it. That's what I'm going to tell myself. And I don't want to unhaul a Laini Taylor series. So hopefully I will finish it before the end of the year. I have to write that down. Remind me, guys. If I don't finish it before the end of the year, I have to unhaul it. And that's mostly because I was supposed to finish it last year because that was on my February book haul for 2019. So it's been over a year since I've had that book, and I haven't even tried to read it. The next series that I'm planning on finishing in 2020 is The Illuminae Files by Amy Coffin and Jay Kristoff, which includes
I'm not doing
Illuminae,
football in
Gemini,
YA.
and Obsidian.
Let's pause that. So The Illuminae Files. I read the first one last year, Illuminae, during my sci-fi book month, which is September. I read sci-fi books. I hadn't planned to read it. I just kind of picked it up on a whim, and I was like, this is actually a lot better than I was expecting. I really wanted to finish the series because I wanted to finish it before I started the Themis Files because of the format. I just thought this format would be a lot easier to read with a YA series than with an adult series, and I had never seen this kind of format before. I'd never really read this kind of format because it's like a mass media epistolary style novel, which I actually really love. Like, I love the format. The book was just good, though. Like, I just liked Illuminae. There were some things that annoyed me about it, but I enjoyed it. So I wanted to continue on with Gemini, and this has been on, like, at least 3 of my TBRs, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I do hope that I will get to it soon. I've been on a pretty sci-fi kick this month. I don't know if I'll get to it this month though, because like I'm not reading that much this month, but I'm hoping that I will still continue on with this series. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna finish it this year, just because this is one that, like, again, I don't have a whole lot of will to pick it up. I have more will to pick this one up than Daughter of Smoke and Bone, because that one, like, I legitimately kind of dread. But this one, like, I actually legitimately want to read. I just, like, there's just so many other things that I want to read more. And even if I do get to Gemina, I really don't know if I'm gonna get to Obsidio.
And the last series is one that I really hadn't thought that I'd be putting on this list, but the more I think about it, the more and more I want to read it, and that is the Throne of Glass series by
Oh my
Sarah
gosh,
J. Maas,
are you kidding
which
me?
includes Throne
That's
of Glass,
legitimately
Crown of
the one that I
Midnight,
put
Heir
on
of
here?
Fire,
Why
Queen
did I
of
put that
Shadows,
series on
Empire
here?
of Storms,
Did
Tower
I
of
want to
Dawn,
hurt
and
myself?
Kingdom of Ash.
I
this
know I
series
put the
is
series
one
on there.
that I've
Why did I buy all of the Throne of Glass books? Because I've only read the first 2 books in the series. So I think it was like sometime last year. I don't remember when. I think it was August. August of last year, I did a give a author a second chance. And the author that you guys chose for me to give a second chance was Sarah J. Maas and the Throne of Glass series, specifically Crown of Midnight. Because I had previously read Throne of Glass, I gave it 2 stars. So I read Crown of Midnight, and I surprisingly liked it a lot more than I was expecting, because I was expecting it to be like a 1-star to 2-star book for me, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Honestly, I think I should have given it 3 stars. I was being generous, but everyone's just like, oh, Heir of Fire is where you really start to get to the series and like the series. So I was like, you know what? I will read Heir of Fire. I'm gonna do it. And I bought it. I was gonna read it in October. Didn't read it in October. I was gonna read it in November. Didn't read it in November. I was gonna read it pretty much every month this year and still haven't read it. So yeah, I still plan on reading at least Heir of Fire. Not sure why I bought the other books in the series. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're all right there. Not sure why I bought all of those, having not read Heir of Fire yet, because I don't know if I'm even gonna like Heir of Fire, because right now, with the first 2 books in the series, I don't like them that much. But hopefully I'll end up loving Heir of Fire, so that it'll be okay that I bought other books in the series. Like, if I love Heir of Fire, I can totally finish the series. Like, I can definitely finish it. Sarah J. Maas has the type of writing style that you could just eat up these books. But if I'm bored by Heir of Fire, I'm probably just gonna unhaul this entire series, let's be honest. I think this video is gonna be a lot longer than I think it's gonna be.
The first series on this list is the Kingsbridge Trilogy by Ken Follett, which includes Pillars of the Earth, World Without End, and Column of Fire. So I read the first book in the series, Pillars.
So the Kingsbridge Trilogy, let's talk about it. So the Kingsbridge Trilogy by Ken Follett. This is another one that's been on like literally every TBR. Not necessarily in the videos, but on the I should probably read. Like, I've legitimately borrowed the audiobook from my library for like the last 6 months. I just keep renewing the audiobook on the Libby app, and at some point they're gonna be like, you've run out of holds on this audiobook. I don't know if there's a limit, but I'll probably hit it for this one. I love the first book in the series, by the way. The Pillars of the Earth. It was amazing. A lot better than I was expecting it to be. But I don't know, I was just really satisfied with the first book. And even though like I want to read more books by Ken Follett because of how like great of an author he was in that one book that I read by him, like I was so satisfied with the first one that I don't really feel the need to continue on with the world. So, I mean, it's big, but it's not that big. Like, there are fantasy books that are bigger than this. Anyways, the first book in the series is a historical fiction novel that is about building a church, but it has such deep world building and politics that I just loved every second of it. Oh, and the characterization too. Really, really great characterization. This one follows the same town, but like 100 years later or something like that. 100 years later? 2 centuries later. So it's following the descendants of the original characters in that previous book, which is interesting, but it doesn't make me want to pick it up anymore. Like, mind you, the premise for the first book, building a church, didn't make me want to pick it up either, but I loved it so much that I should want to pick it up. So yeah, I do hope that I can continue on with this series though, and I do want to finish it this year because I have a whole nother series by Ken Follett that I also want to start. And the prequel to the series is coming out very soon in like August, and these are huge, so I don't know if I'm gonna finish it this year, but this is one that I do want to continue on with and finish. I'm not gonna unhaul this though if I don't, because I know that I'm gonna like it. I know that I'm gonna like it even if I don't get to it this year. So I'm gonna keep these books regardless of whether I finish them or not.
So the next series on this list is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, which includes Leviathan Wakes, Caliban's War, Abaddon's Gate, Cibola Burn, Nemesis Games, Babylon's Ashes, Persepolis Rising, and Tiamat's Wrath. So this series,
So let's talk about The Expanse. So The Expanse series is an adult sci-fi series that is gonna have 9 books in it total. I've read the first 6 of them, and I haven't gotten to the 7th book yet, which is Persepolis Rising, and I don't have that much inclination to do so. The first book in this series I absolutely loved, which is Leviathan Wakes, It's so good. The second book was okay. The third book was better. The fourth book was fantastic. The fifth book and the sixth book are a little downhill. Like, I mean, they're still good. Like, they're still like expanse level good books, but they're not like amazing the way the first and the fourth book really were. I've heard not as good things about Persepolis Rising. Like, I've heard a lot of people just be like, about this one. So like, it doesn't make me want to pick it up. And I haven't heard like legitimately anything about the next book, which is Tiamat's Wrath, I think, which came out last year. I do think there's gonna be another book coming out in this year or next year. I don't know exactly when, but I love this series and I do want to continue on. I honestly don't have that much inclination to do so. I mean, right now I am on a bit of a sci-fi kick though, so maybe I will pick it up soon. I generally read more sci-fi books in September though, so I might pick it up in September too. So I do think there is still a chance that I can finish this series this year, because there's only 2 more books that are out that I still have to read in it. And the last series in this category is the 3-Body Problem trilogy by Cixin Liu, which includes the 3-Body Problem, The Dark Forest, and Deaths. So another awesome sci-fi series that I haven't continued on with at all. What is wrong with me? Why haven't I continued on with it? The first book was like mysterious in all the right ways, and it had a really interesting structure that I really, really loved. And I do want to continue on with it. I have the second book in this series, and I'm planning to get the third one very, very soon. So maybe when I get the third one, I'll remember to continue on with it. I don't know, but I am really excited to continue on with the series. I still remember the first book really, really well, so I don't think I'll have an issue continuing on with it. And yeah, it's a great series that I do recommend, at least the first book, since that's the only one I've read so far. But I don't know why I just haven't picked up the next books yet.
So the first series on this list is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, which includes the 5th season, The Obelisk Gate,
Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. So The Obelisk Gate is the next book in this series that I want to read. I do want to reread the 5th season before I continue on. I've heard the entire trilogy is so close together in like timeline wise that it kind of feels like one book just like spread out between 3. I really want to reread the 5th season before I start The Obelisk Gate, which is the reason why I haven't continued on yet, because I haven't reread the 5th season. Why haven't I reread the 5th season? I have no idea. I just haven't been feeling to, so I haven't done that yet. But I will definitely be finishing the series. While I haven't continued on with this one, I do plan on 100% finishing this one this year in a way that I really didn't for some of the other series on this list.
The next series I'm hoping to finish in 2020 is The Nevernight Chronicle by J. Kristoff, which includes Nevernight, God's Grave, and Dark Dawn.
That has not changed. I didn't love Nevernight, and because of that, I haven't continued on with God's Grave yet. As of right now, I still want to. I just have no motivation to. I think this is another one of those like the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. If I don't finish this by the end of this year and read this series, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and unhaul it, because like I want to read this. I want to, but because I didn't like the first one as much as I was hoping to, I have a feeling I'm not gonna like the second one as much as I want to either. I'm gonna give it a second chance and I'm gonna read it. I don't know when, but I will. But if I don't by the end of the year, then this one's gonna end up being an unhaul for me as well.
The next series that I want to try and finish is the Dragon Riders of Pern series by Anne McCaffrey. So the actual Dragon Riders of Pern series has a lot more books than the 3 that I'm holding.
Okay, so the Dragon Riders of Pern series. So I have made some progress on this one, sort of. So I originally read the first 3 novels in the Dragon Riders of Pern series like almost like 8 years ago now, and I enjoyed them, but I didn't remember that much about them when I wanted to reread this series this year. I reread the first 2 books. The third book, I decided not to reread because chronologically, it's not the next book in the series. So chronologically, the next book in the series is Dragon Song, not this book. This is like the 4th book in the series chronologically. So my next book that I plan to read in the series is Dragon Song and then Dragon Singer. So I've kind of made progress on this because I did do the 2 rereads of the first 2 books, so I can actually continue on with it. So I sort of made progress on it, I sort of didn't. But I'm hoping that I can finish the next trilogy in this series before the end of the year, and I do have all 3 books in that trilogy, and I can read it now because I did the reread. So I think I made sufficient progress on this one this year because I was supposed to read 5 of the books, 2 rereads, and then 3 books. So in 5.5 months, I did 2 of the rereads. So the next 6.5, I can do the 3 books. So I think I'm on track for this one. Like finally, I found one that I'm actually kind of on track for. So yeah, I don't even want to get to the end of this video because I'm doing so poorly on this so far. Like really, really bad.
And the last series in this category is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, which includes The Gunslinger, The Drawing of Three, The Wastelands, Wizard and Glass, Wolves of the Kala, Song of Susanna, and The Dark Tower.
So the Dark Tower series. I'm gonna say I'm making progress on this. So the Dark Tower series is a 7-book series by Stephen King. One of the things that I've heard about the Dark Tower series is what makes it so amazing is people who have read like other Stephen King novels. There's a lot that happens in the Dark Tower series that like coincides with a lot of the other Stephen King novels. So I've been slowly making my way through other Stephen King novels as well as the Dark Tower series. There are 7 books in the series and I own 4 of the books. I've read 2 of the 4 books that I own. This is The Wastelands, which is the 3rd book in the series, which I haven't read yet, but I read the first 2 and I have 2 more that I have to read. So that's like about halfway through my own section of the series, but I've also been making progress on other books that by Stephen King, such as The Stand, for example, was one of those books that I wanted to read before I read. I don't know if it's before I read The Wastelands or sometime before I read Wizard and Glass, but from what I've heard, a lot more of Stephen King's books before you get to Wizard and Glass. So I feel like I'm making good progress on it. I don't think I'm gonna finish the Dark Tower series before the end of the year, but I think if I get to at least the ones that I own left, which is The Wastelands and The Wizard and Glass, then I'll be happy with my Dark Tower series read. That's my goal by the end of the year, is to read The Wastelands and Wizard and Glass, as well as some of the other books before Wizard and Glass, because let's face it, apparently Wizard and Glass is not going to be that good if you haven't read a lot of his other books first.
The first series on this list is The Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski, which includes The Last Witch, Sword of Destiny,
I
Blood
got one
Elf,
that I
Time
did!
of Death, Baptism of
Sort
Fire,
of.
The Tower of
I sort of
Swallow,
did it,
and The Lady of the
but
Lake.
I'm gonna
So
count
series,
this. So The Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski, I actually did finish this series, sort of. I haven't done Season of Storms. Season of Storms is the most recent book in the Witcher series that came out, but it's a prequel. So I finished the original series. I just haven't read the new prequel that came out, which I think is okay. I think it's okay that I haven't read the latest book in it, but I did finish the series itself, so this is a win for me. I'm really happy about this, and like there's so much left of the year left, so I can still finish the last book in this series. I also was like really prioritizing this series because I wanted to watch the show, and then I just didn't watch the show, so I don't know. Should I watch the show? What do you guys think? Did you guys like it? I don't know. But yeah, great series. I enjoyed it. Okay, that one made me feel a lot better.
So the next series on this list, I feel like, is not going to be a surprise to anybody. And that's all the books in the First Law world by Joe Abercrombie, which includes The Blade itself,
Oh my
Before They Were
gosh!
Hanged, The Last Argument of Kings,
I
The
finished
Silk
another
Cult,
one,
The Hero,
guys.
Red
I
Country,
finished
and
another
A
one.
Little...
Of course I finished the Joe Abercrombie series. Like, I've been raving about this series, like, since November of last year. Yeah, I read all of the books. I read all of them. Every single one of them. Even the one I didn't mention there, Sharp Ends, which is a short story collection that you're supposed to read before A Little Hatred, and I highly recommend reading Before A Little Hatred. Yes, I finished it. It's fantastic. One of my favorite series of all time, and I can't wait for the next book in the series to come out, which is coming out in, I think, September. All right, let's keep going.
The next books on this list is The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson, which includes The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and Oathbringer.
Okay, so next is The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson, which I will admit, I did think I would be further along in this series by now, because I only had 2 books to read left, which is Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, but like, I mean, they are pretty big, so I read one of them, and I have 1 more to read, and so I have between now and November to read Oathbringer, until Rhythm of War comes out in November. So I would say I'm on track for this, because this is just books I had to finish before the end of the year, not before June, right? So yeah, I'm on track for this one as well.
The next series I'm planning on finishing in 2020 is The Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch, which includes The Lies of Lockamora, Red Seas Under Red Skies, and The Republic of Thieves.
So yeah, I haven't continued on with the Gentleman Bastard series yet. This is another one where like I really want to reread The Lies of Lockamora before continuing on to Red Seas Under Red Skies, which is why I haven't continued on with it yet. That's no excuse though. I could have definitely reread The Lies of Lockamora by now, because I did so many rereads already this year, considering like I didn't actually plan on rereading that many books. Anyways, I feel like this one's a little bit of a fail. I should be further along with this one by now, because I still haven't reread The Lies of Lockamora either. But it's also one of those series that I feel like once I start it, I can binge read all of the books in the series, so I still think it's definitely possible that I do finish this series.
And the last series on this list is probably the most intimidating and the most ambitious. It is definitely going to be my top priority in 2020, and that is Malazan, A Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson, which includes Gardens of the Moon, Dead House Gate.
So Malazan, Book of the Fallen. This is the one that I was really remembering that I was just like, I'm dreading doing this video because I'm gonna have to talk about Malazan. I wanted to read one book a month. So far this year, I've read one book. I read Dead House Gates. I'm currently reading Memories of Ice. It's currently on pause for me right now because I went into a reading slump as soon as I started this book. Not because of this book, for other reasons. But yeah, I have not made sufficient progress in this one. So I'm actually just gonna update my goal for this one. I think 10 books in a year, 10 Malazan books in a year specifically, is kind of a lot for the first time around. Like, I think like rereading these, you can definitely do all of them in 1 year. But for the first time around, considering these are so hard to read and how dark and all of that they get, unless they were the only books I was reading this year or close to the only books I was reading this year, I don't think that was even plausible. So I read the first 2 books. What I'm gonna do for this goal is to read all the books that I currently own in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, which I own the first 5 books. So I own from Gardens of the Moon up to Midnight Tide. So currently on Memories of Ice, which is the 3rd one, which means I have 2 more to read. So I'm a little bit behind, but if I can finish Memories of Ice soon enough, I do think I could read the 4th and the 5th book in this series before the end of the year. So that's gonna be my goal, to finish the first 5 books in Malazan Book of the Fallen, and then next year I can get through books 6 through 10. Like, I think that is a reasonable goal that I can actually achieve, and I think I'll be happy with that. So yeah, that's my goal, is to read through Midnight Tides. And I'm excited for it because so far, Malazan is fantastic and I'm really, really enjoying it. That was a little bit better than I was expecting it to be. Like, especially like, as soon as I saw The Witcher on there, I was just like, oh, finally, something that I knew that I actually did well. So I thought this was gonna be a little bit more painful than it was. I'm glad that it wasn't, but at the same time, like, there's quite a few books on there that I haven't even tried to read yet that I need to try before the end of the year. So a little bit of a mixed bag, but I definitely enjoyed doing this video, and I'm glad that I can straighten out my priorities and probably get to some more of these series before the end of the year, because they are all series that I do still really want to finish. So let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these, because I would love to discuss with you guys. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. I also post bonus videos, so if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!